Visarakulashi Parakalayatindra Mishran Srimat Parankushamunim Pranatos Minityam. In the previous lecture, we had seen a few things. One was about a conversation that Bhagavad Ramanuja had with Bhagavan Ranganatha. The other was about how he not only taught people by himself, but also trained experts who would be able to teach alongside him. So he would teach, his Shishyas would also teach, his Shishyas would also be learning more advanced things from him. Whatever they know to be accurate, whatever they have mastered, that part they would teach. This system has a number of advantages. If you look at it, it is very practical. It saves time and helps you to spread dharma, especially the concept of moksha and concepts that are necessary for the society in a much faster way. For the society, during the days of Bhagavad Ramanuja, teaching that everybody could enter the temple itself was a great thing. What kind of everybody could enter the temple was it? Every devotee can enter the temple. As long as you are a devotee, nothing should really stop you. Bhagavad Ramanuja also arranged in accordance with the scriptures for Bhagavan himself to come outside in the form of procession. Bhagavan would have the Utsava Vigraha of himself apart from the Mula Vigraha. The Mula Vigraha cannot move, but the Utsava Vigraha would be taken out on procession for the benefit of those people, those communities that are in general not studying the Vedas. What did Bhagavad Ramanuja do? He formalized the system wherein during the Utsavas, in front of the Vigraha, people would be reciting the Divya Prabandha. And behind the Vigraha, the Sanskrit Vedas would be recited. Those who do not understand the Sanskrit Vedas will still get to listen to the Tamil Divya Prabandha. They will still get to experience Bhagavan. They would also get to listen to the Vedas. So on one side, you are having the Divya Prabandha, which is understandable for the Tamil people. And on the other, you are having the Sanskrit Veda as well. The scriptures permit such a recitation So why not use it as an opportunity to let everybody hear the divine sounds? This is one of the many contributions of Bhagavad Ramanuja. When trying to become more inclusive and explaining that everybody can try to attain moksha, you need to address a huge population. Telling just one or two people is not enough. Seen that way, having shishyas to also preach is a great way of spreading knowledge quickly. And that is what he did. He used his shishyas to spread knowledge at a fast pace. So we were seeing about how Bhagavad Ramanuja at every point of time, without getting any kind of ego, while always identifying himself as a dasa of Bhagavan and a dasa of Bhagavatas, taught the exact same attitude, which would remove all kinds of pride and ego in the minds of people. I am such a great person. Do you know who I am? I am the king. I am this person. I am that person. People would go to any extent. People would even say, I am the supreme. Therefore, come and worship me. To that extent, falsities existed in those days. They exist today as well. We have plenty of people saying, I am Kalki Avatar. Come and worship me. So you should teach their followers the right path and also teach them the benefits of becoming truthful and following the right path. You can fool people for some time in this life, but will it really result in Atma Kalyana? That is something to be thought about, right? So tell me, is the screen visible? I hope the screen is visible. It is not showing me the rectangle. We saw about how Bhagavad Ramanuja went against the Kudrishtis. We saw about how several kings, not just one particular king, Vishnuvardhana, who is so often quoted, he wasn't the only king who followed Bhagavad Ramanuja. There were a good number of kings. So, having been a person who had traveled the length and breadth of India, we should remember that Bhagavad Ramanuja was not just a person who would travel the length and breadth of India to debate with scholars. Debating it with scholars is one thing that he anyway had to do. But his aim was not just to debate with scholars. In fact, that is not something that he appreciated at all points of time. His aim was to connect with the population, connect with the people, interact with them, and teach them dharma. That is the real aim. So, the entire world deserves this kind of knowledge. And you cannot just be a person speaking in closed societies, debating in closed societies, expecting the entire world to learn everything. There are people, for example, there are people who teach philosophy even today. How do they teach? They say, come to class, we will teach you. They teach in college. Then there are others, they say, come to our class, we will teach you. So you go to college, learn philosophy. What do you do with it? Do they ensure that you follow it? No. Do the lecturers themselves follow it? May or may not. Do they encourage you to spread it outside to the whole world? Usually not. Even if they want you to spread, how is it spread? There is such and such a course offered by such and such a university, go and attend. That is not philosophy. Philosophy has to do with the way of life, the purpose of life. What are we going to do with life? How are we going to live it? We have to think about that and then go and spread it out to the world. In Western philosophy, there is a concept called Plato's cave. They say, in general, people do not know much beyond what they see and hear. A normal person sees very ordinary things, right? Take today's world, for example. What would the normal person see? Maybe YouTube, maybe the world in front of them. That is all. Therefore, they would not get into thoughts about the ultimate purpose of life, the greatness of Bhagavan, and so on. It is the philosopher who is a rare entity among them. The philosopher goes, finds out the truth, and returns to teach the public. That returning to teach, he goes, he studies, then he comes to the public and teaches the public. He encourages them also to become philosophers like him. That part is extremely important. But we do not see such a thing happening. So, we should understand that Bhagavad Ramanuja did not only become a philosopher, but also spread that to everybody. Not just being an armchair lecturer, but teaching things on the ground. What is the big deal? Every Indian philosopher used to teach on the ground. No, every Indian philosopher did not teach on the ground. A great lot of people would not go and speak to the public directly and teach them and help them. They would disassociate themselves. We are scholars. We will talk only with scholars. We are Brahmanas. We will talk only with Brahmanas. How dare a Chandala come towards us? This used to be the attitude of people, not only during the days of Ramanujacharya, even during the days of Shankaracharya, that was the attitude. So, okay, you are a teacher. You are teaching so many things. What else? He was a divine being. As a divine being, he also performed a lot of miracles, like how he had performed at Karnataka. Elsewhere, Bhagavad Ramanuja also helped a dumb person to get back speech. So many great things he has done. Just by learning about them, we are said to get punya. How do you get punya? Just by learning? When you listen to anything related to dharma, that also counts as dharma. Listening has an impact on us. It helps us, it gets absorbed into our heart and helps us to become dharmic people. Showing it in action is, of course, superior. But this is, in spite of not being as great as directly showing in action, this is also impactful. This helps us to become better people, and therefore, this is also praiseworthy. The aim was exactly that. The aim of Bhagavad Ramanuja was to help everybody. So, रक्षक्ष्मापतितनया गतं तदुक्त्या न्यक्कुर्वद्गुरुमपि यादवप्रकाशम् दुग्धाब्दे फणिपतिरासलक्ष्मणात्मा इत्याख्यानात् पुनरधिकाञ्चिनष्टमूक. Like during the days of Shishyatva, back when Ramanujacharya was a Shishya, the Brahmarakshas had declared that he can be cured only by Bhagavad Ramanuja. That showed the divinity of Bhagavad Ramanuja. In Kanchipuram, the dumb person spoke. He said, this person in front of us, Bhagavad Ramanuja, he is not an ordinary person. I saw him in Ksheerasagara, in Dugdhabdhi. Dugdhabdhi means Ksheerasagara, the ocean of milk, one of the abodes of Lord Vishnu. I saw him in Ksheerasagara. As what? I saw him in Ksheerasagara as Adishesha, on whom Vishnu reclines. Therefore, he said, he who cannot speak opened his mouth and said, I have got darshan of Bhagavad Ramanuja as the Ananta Shesha. What a great miracle. This grew the popularity of Bhagavad Ramanuja because Bhagavan established his authenticity and divinity through yet another means. So, if we look at the Divya Prabandham, there is a part that is celebrated as Ramanuja Nutrandadi. Now, inside this part, we see verses that praise Bhagavad Ramanuja. They predict about him and also explain about some of his leelas. So, it is celebrated because the person it celebrates is so great. Now, it had been predicted that Bhagavad Ramanuja would be a Bhavishadacharya. He would be a great person in the future. And today we are singing Adau Jagadadhara Sheshaha Tadanu Sumitra Nandana Veshaha Tadupari Dhrutahala Musala Veshaha Tadanantaram Abhavat Guru Reshaha. In Kali Yuga, that he came as Bhagavad Ramanuja. That same Adishesha, as the dumb person said, I saw him as Adishesha. That Adishesha, who came as Lakshmana and who came as Balarama, is the one who has come as Bhagavad Ramanuja. So, the qualities of Bhagavad Ramanuja, were they shown by him at a later point of life? Was it like he behaved differently in childhood and later on learned and changed? That was not so. Even when he was a student of Yadava Prakasha, Yamunacharya had identified these qualities. So Bhagavad Ramanuja was consistent in displaying his good qualities. Having good qualities, doing good things, it does not mean that you do one good thing in your life and then say, okay, I have done some good thing. If you are doing Annadhanam, for example, what is the big deal? I have also done Annadhanam 30 years ago, 50 years ago in my childhood. That does not count. You should be consistent in whatever good things you do. For that, Your beliefs should be consistent. The way you are aligned towards dharma has to be consistent. Therefore, Swami Deshika would say, when describing how the ideal acharya should be, after saying Siddham Sat Sampradaye, Swami Deshika would say, Sthira Dhyam. You should have a Sthira Dhi. We have seen the shloka before, so I'm not going to explain it further. But this kind of consistency was shown by Bhagavad Ramanuja from the very beginning. Once it so happened that Bhagavad Ramanuja was explaining the Divya Prabandha to the Shishyas. Others were also listening. Who were these others? Some of the people who had directly learned from Yamunacharya. They were also listening. At that point, when Bhagavad Ramanuja, while explaining the Divya Prabandha, gave a specific explanation for one of the verses of Tiruvaimozhi. At that point, one person objected. Maladhara Swami objected to it. And then he said, this is not the meaning that had been taught to us by our Acharya, Yamunacharya. We have not been taught such a kind of a meaning. How could you teach such a meaning? On what basis is this being taught? It is inappropriate to innovate inside Shastra. You cannot come up with your own interpretation. The Shastra is not open to interpretation. Shastra was not provided to us by Bhagavan for the sake of being interpreted as we please. It was given to us for our benefit. We understand what it really says, and therefore it helps us. If we interpret it as we please, it will not be able to help us. Therefore, one does not have complete freedom to interpret the Shastras. Interpretations of Shastras should be bound by several rules. These include the rules of grammar, the rules of interpretation that we call as hermeneutics, and so on. A lot of things need to be taken into consideration. And most importantly, because we are in Sanatana Dharma, Sanatana means eternal, whatever we teach should be something that we have learned through Guru Parampara. Something that we have learned. If we are spreading, it is okay. We cannot teach something by ourselves. But you are giving an explanation by yourself. This is not fair. श्रीमालाधर विबुध शठारि सूक्ति स्तोमार्थावन समये नवीनमर्थम तेनोक्तं गुरुगदितं सगोष्ठिपूर्णात् श्रुत्वास्मिन् सह तनयेन शिष्यभावात्. So, Shathari Sukti, referring to Tiruvaimudi. When Maladhara Swami heard a Navinam Artham, when he heard a new meaning that he had not heard before, he could not accept. He said, this is a new teaching. At that time, remember, as I said, there were also Shishyas of Yamunacharya who were present there. One among them was the great Goshti Purna, who had also been one of the preceptors of Bhagavad Ramanuja. He was listening to his own disciple explaining and experiencing the beautiful explanation. What did he do? Goshti Purna Swami, that is Tirukoshti Urnambi. He said, no, this had indeed been taught by Yamunacharya. This is not the only meaning, of course. You might have heard a different meaning from Yamunacharya. But the same Yamunacharya, our beloved Acharya, he had taught this additional meaning as well. We have heard him, we have listened to him. And I remember learning this from him. At this point, Maladhara Swami was surprised. How is it possible? This is certainly something divine. Something divine has surely happened because Bhagavad Ramanuja never learned through any Kalakshepa of Yamunacharya. He never learned. The only time he came to visit Yamunacharya, we all know what happened. Then, how is it that a meaning taught by my venerable Acharya, during which time I was probably absent, I did not listen to him explain this. But my Sahapathis have studied, the other Shishyas of Yamunacharya have studied. So, how is it that this exact interpretation of the Divya Prabandham that was given by my Acharya and which was not known to me is still known to Bhagavad Ramanuja? Definitely, it is divinity at play. Bhagavan is ensuring that this meaning is also preserved and is spread through Bhagavad Ramanuja, so that even people like me who missed it in the earlier days are able to learn and understand. So he got so happy about the authenticity of the teachings of Bhagavad Ramanuja that he sent his son to Bhagavad Ramanuja. He said, please teach my son as well. Please guide him on the right path. One might think, what is the big deal? And you should remember, he himself was a scholar. He could have trained his son, but he preferred that his son learn through Bhagavad Ramanuja. The more authentic Acharya is one who is able to repeat more from the Purvacharyas. One who understands the Purvacharyas better and repeats them better is the better Acharya. One who creates totally his own style, that person cannot be an Acharya. Whatever is already there in the scripture is whatever The ancient Purvacharyas have said, whatever meanings they have protected, they should be looked at, analyzed, and brought out. That is what Bhagavad Ramanuja did, even with his Sri Bhashya. Purvacharya Surakshitam Bahumati Vyaghata Durasthitam, as he says. Purvacharya Surakshitam. The meanings that have been preserved by the Purvacharyas. Bahumati Vyaghata Durasthitam. So many different types of people explain Vedanta in so many different ways. And so many of them are inappropriate. Either they are illogical or they go against the Vedas. There are people who deny the existence of Parabrahman. They also call themselves as philosophers. So many types of people are there. So many interpretations, misinterpretations are roaming about. And therefore, people get confused. How does that confusion get lifted? What is the cure for such confusion? If one fine day you go and say, look, I have also created my own version, that is not going to stop the confusion. That will only add to the confusion. But if you repeat the words of Purvacharyas, if you repeat whatever had already been taught, that would be authentic knowledge. The world might not celebrate you as the first person to reveal these things. That kind of celebration might not be there. Oh, he has innovated, he has created a new school altogether, like what happened with Yadava Prakasha. Maybe that is not what the world is going to tell about you. But you would end up helping the world for real. And your words would carry weight because you are not the first person teaching it. There would have been plenty of people who had taught it before you. You are telling by using the authority of all of them. Therefore, your words would carry a lot of weight. We do have a good number of people criticizing us, saying, oh, you are just parrots repeating the words of Purvacharyas. You don't have your own brain. You can't use your own brain to think by yourself and interpret. Let it be that we don't have our own brain. In matters pertaining to the Shastras, it is better not to have our own brain. The Shastras are not books meant for us to interpret as we please. They are not just some kind of poem. They are medicine for life. And when medicine is given, we do not have the freedom of interpretation. Oh, the doctor's handwriting looks different. I cannot understand his handwriting in English, but it looks like Arabic. Therefore, let me ask my Arabic friend what the words are in Arabic and then go to the pharmacy here in India to purchase medicine. If I do that, I would be called a stupid. If my doctor's handwriting looks like Arabic, that is his fault. His handwriting is like that. If I cannot understand what it means, I should ask him what is the name of the medicine. Please tell me. I should repeat that name when I go to the pharmacy. If I interpret it in my own way and say in the pharmacy that I need some other medicine, will it help me? So, in matters of medicine, we do not have the freedom of interpretation. In the same way, in matters of Sanatana Dharma, we do not have freedom of interpretation. Oh, you are saying that we don't have freedom of interpretation. But why is it that the great Ramanujacharya, who was teaching the Divya Prabandha, why is it that he refused to write a commentary on it? Ramanujacharya taught the Shathari Sukti, which is the Tiruvaimozhi. But after teaching it, he did not write a commentary. It is narrated that he refused to write a commentary because he felt that since people are attributing too much authority to him, and there are a good number of possible interpretations for the Divya Prabandham, people might end up learning only what is covered in the commentary and miss out an experience because they will think, oh, Ramanujacharya has given only this meaning. Therefore, we will cancel the other meaning. We will not accept the other interpretation. When there are multiple possible interpretations, people should be allowed to experience Bhagavan through the other interpretations as well. The ones that I write down should not restrict them. Bhagavad Ramanuja is supposed to have felt in this manner. This is quoted by some to say that Bhagavad Ramanuja was actually pro self-interpretation, that he wanted the reader to interpret as he pleased. But that is wrong. He was not pro self-interpretation. The point here is that there were multiple possible authentic interpretations. Yamunacharya also had not interpreted as he pleased. There were two authentic interpretations. Both of them had been taught by Yamunacharya, and Goshti Purna had listened to both of them. So they are not just two interpretations, they are two authentic interpretations. Suppose there is a verse that has 6 possible authentic interpretations. What should you do? You should accept those 6 authentic interpretations. But you do not have the right to say, it has many possible interpretations, therefore I will go outside the limits, outside the boundaries. You don't have that option. Take the simple example of the word kapi. Kapyasam, we have seen that part, right? Tasayatha kapyasam from the Upanishad. Now for kapi, there are multiple possible meanings. Monkey is one meaning, but even the sun is a meaning. Bhagavad Ramanuja pointed this out. Did he create the meaning of the word? No, he did not create the meaning of the word. This is another possible authentic meaning of the word. Kam pibati iti kapihi. It is an authentic meaning of the word. So, you have the option of experiencing the scripture through any of its authentic meanings, any of its authentic interpretations. When I go and open Vishnu Sahasranama, I will find one commentary of Shankara Bhagavad Pada. I will find another commentary of Parashara Bhatta. From the Madhvas, I would find a third commentary. Okay. Does the Shastra forbid me as a Sri Vaishnava from looking at the interpretations given by the Madhvas? If they have given some beautiful interpretation for the name of Bhagavan, that is acceptable to my Purvacharyas as well. I should not get repelled away from it just because the people who are explaining it are not my Acharyas. We still have the right to learn and experience that way. This is the reason why several Sri Vaishnava publications, when they publish Vishnu Sahasranama, at the end of the recitation of Vishnu Sahasranama's Phalashruti, what do? They add the Panchayudha Stotra of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya was an Advaiti. You are a Vishishtadvaiti school. Why are you printing the work of Shankaracharya, Panchayudha Stotra? Because that Stotra, Panchayudha Stotra, it shows us a way of experiencing Bhagavan through his divine weapons. And that is fine. So whatever we see in Panchayudha Stotra is authentic. Therefore, we follow it. If it is to be some random interpretation, nonsensical interpretation against the scripture, then we would reject it. So we do not say anybody and everybody has the right to create some kind of interpretation and then that interpretation would also be accepted. When a scholar gives an interpretation and that interpretation is consistent with the scriptures, we take it, we accept it. So, in the case of Tiruvaimudi, where it was not Bhagavad Ramanuja himself, but his Shishya, Tirukkurugai Piran Pillan, who composed the commentary. Ramanujacharya is said to have refused to comment, not because he said anybody can experience in any way they like, you have the right to interpret. He did not say that. He meant there are multiple possible interpretations which are authentic. And all of these authentic interpretations would help you to get Bhagavad Anubhava, to experience Bhagavan through bhakti. And therefore, let us not restrict it to a commentary which can at best maybe point out 2 or 3 possible meanings when there exist 10 to 11 possible authentic meanings for a single verse. Covering each and every one in depth wouldn't make sense. So, this needs to be understood by us. Freedom is great within limits. When we understand the implications of freedom, we understand the limitations of freedom. India is a free country. I am not a slave. I am a free person. Yes, that is true. I am not a slave. I am a free person. But do I have the freedom to take a machine gun and shoot people around? No, I don't. I am not free to do that. Why? Because in spite of being a free person, my freedom comes with limits. My freedom does not permit me to go and harm others. My freedom does not permit me to snatch the freedom of the others. So, even though we call ourselves free, we are free within limits. This is something that needs to be understood. Is Ramanujacharya within the limits of freedom when explaining the Divya Prabandham? This was asked. Likewise, are we within the limits of dharma when we understand the scriptures and also when we start applying them in our lives? That is something that we should ask ourselves. There are 100 ways to practice dharma. Performing puja inside an animated app is not one of them. I could go to a temple, I could go with my family, I could perform puja there, I could perform puja at my home, I could go to the temple, have darshan of Bhagavan. The priest would be performing puja, I would have darshan of it. That is also another way. But will the Shastra say that instead of visiting the actual temple, let us say somebody has built the temple on Minecraft. You enter the temple inside that animation using your computer. You are still having darshan. Okay, that is a good thing. That is also Bhagavad Anubhava. But are both of them one and the same? No. Just because you can show bhakti inside of Minecraft, it will not be able to replace the darshan of Bhagavan that you have at a temple. Why? Because the Archa Vigraha that is inside a temple is Sakshat Bhagavan. It is called Archavatara. Whereas what you see in animation will not be Archavatara. There would be a difference between the two. In the same way, we have to understand that whatever is authentic, it carries weight. Not many people like to hear this. Oh, why can't I worship Bhagavan in whichever way I like? Why can't I follow this practice in this temple, that practice in that temple? Why can't I wear these kinds of clothes? Why can't I have this kind of hair? A lot of questions are asked. People want freedom, but they do not want to understand the consequences of freedom. If the consequence of my freedom is that my neighbors are going to die just because I want to test a machine gun, perhaps I don't deserve that freedom. It takes a level of maturity to understand this. Bhagavad Ramanuja had complete maturity, and therefore he was completely operating within the limits set by the Shastras. He was not breaking them. This has to be understood by us. If we understand this context, we will also be able to develop the affinity towards authentic teachings of the scriptures. If we do not focus on authentic teachings, if without asking who is the author, who is the translator, where has this translator studied from, we don't ask such questions. We just Google, find some PDF, or maybe we find some website. There are 100 websites. There is archive.org. There is wisdomlib.org. Some website will show some translation, some explanation of the scripture. Who is the person who has translated? On what basis has he done? What is his is giving pravachana to the shishya. So the acharya giving pravachana to the shishya is what gives authentic vidya, not what you find on the internet. Why so? Because internet does not come with guarantee, but your acharya comes with the guarantee that he is authentic. He comes not only with the guarantee, he also comes with the spiritual power with which he can give you blessings. Blessings of the acharyas is extremely important. You cannot get blessings from an internet article. You cannot get blessings from a PDF, unfortunately. Therefore, you have to compulsorily go to acharyas. It is not wrong, therefore, to think, okay, my acharya has not taught this meaning. How could Ramanujacharya teach in this way? It is not a necessarily wrong way of thinking. But at the end of the day, whatever Bhagavad Ramanuja taught was the teaching of the Purvacharyas only. There was zero innovation involved. If we can understand and also appreciate this, it means the purpose of today's class is met. So I conclude today's lecture here. If any of you has any question, feel free to ask. Okay, thank you. See, it is tricky, right? Krishna will say, Yathechasi tatha kuru. People will say, see, Sanatana Dharma gives us complete freedom. We can do whatever we like. If you can do whatever you like, then go behave like Duryodhana. Go behave like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu. See what happens. That was not the intention of Krishna, right? When Krishna told Arjuna, Yathechasi tatha kuru. Did Krishna mean go become like Duryodhana, join the side of Kauravas, do not do battle, stay idle? None of that was really the intention of Krishna. So some people, they like to cite certain parts here and there and then say, look, we have complete freedom. No, you don't have complete freedom. This is Sanatana Dharma. And Dharma, by definition, is the opposite of Adharma. We are having the ability, but are yet not instructed to indulge in Adharma. There are limits for us set by Dharma. This is Dharma. This is Adharma. Satyam Vada. That is Dharma. Speak the truth. If you keep lying all the time, then is that Dharma? That is not Dharma. Adharma tad viparyaha. Adharma is the opposite of Dharma. So we should understand properly and be careful about understanding. As there is no doubt, I will end the lecture here. Thank you so much for attending. Shivatvam Shakla Shodhadi Kostubhasya Shivasaraghavadgurostanayam Tatasya Vidyavape Bhadotamatam Dadhanam Kurvesda Hardi Gurum Karunakarakyam Kavitaripya Simhaya Kalyana Gunashadine Shrimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha.